Hello out there and welcome to my channel. My name is Milesy, and last week we took a quick look at this water erasable pencil, and this week I want to actually take a look to see how well it works. And to do that I have 4 pieces of fabric. The first is a control. It is this black 14 count synthetic Aida. It's not cotton. I don't know what it is, but it's not cotton. It's more of a plastic. I have a solid dyed black piece of Aida, a marble dyed black piece of Aida, and to really give it a test, a piece of red dyed Aida. And the reason I am using hand dyed fabric for these is because that's the reason I bought the pencil, because using a pen on dyed fabric is tricky, not only because of the ink might not show up on there, and it definitely won't show up on the black, but because it's kind of a little bit worrisome sometimes to try to wash hand-dyed fabric, especially with something like red, which, as we all know, will bleed all over everything as soon as you introduce even the smallest amount of water to it. So to test the bleed, I have some white paper towels. Pretty easy stuff to work with right there. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our first test, the control, let's use the black synthetic Aida. This won't bleed or run or anything like that. So that should make it really easy to see what it will do in the best case scenario. And the instructions said to mark lightly. So that's what we're going to do. Just kind of mark as we normally would. A nice white little X, and I'm not really sure how well the camera is picking that up because I can't see it from this far away. Hopefully you guys can see that. And we're going to take one of our white paper towels, and I have a little bit of water over here in a cup, just right here. There you go. So you can see that. And I'm going to just dip a little bit of the paper towel into the water and wring it out so it's not soaking wet, but it is just a bit damp, and we're going to lightly press here. Try not to rub too hard and just try to erase the pencil. And it's kind of coming out a little bit. It wants to. Oh, it really wants to, but you kind of really have to press in, which is a worry for the hand-dyed stuff, because that was why I bought this, so. It wants to erase, it really does. And I'm pressing so hard, again, I hope you guys can see this, that it's leaving little chunks of paper towel all over my fabric. So, that didn't come out too easily at all. And there's still a little bit left, so let's give it another pass. A little bit more water, maybe. Come on. Okay. There's a little bit left, but not too much. If this were full coverage, that wouldn't matter at all, but this doesn't really bode well, so let's put that aside. And we'll go for the black hand-dyed Aida. And we'll go over here in the corner and unfold it, just in case this does ruin the fabric. And we'll put this aside, because we've already used that one. We'll put it on that one that we used. And just in case it does ruin the fabric, because this is a nice piece and I don't want to risk ruining it if I actually want to use it at some point. And we shall do the same thing. Do it this way. There we go. Just give it a little mark down here in the corner. So right here. A little tiny cross. There we go. I think you guys can see that. And we'll take a second paper towel, brand new, hasn't been used, and we'll do the same exact thing. Just kind of. Come on. Now this being cotton is taking the water a lot better. It doesn't quite seem to want to tear up my paper towel as much. And that did actually come out a little bit better than the synthetic stuff. And it doesn't appear to have been enough water to have made the dye bleed. And this is the fabric, keep in mind, that I have dyed. It gets washed about 2 or 3 times before it makes its way into my fabric bin. So it's not likely to bleed, but it still has the possibility of bleeding. But there we go. There's just, again, a tiny little ghost of the cross that I'm not even sure if you guys can see. But we'll just put that aside as well. Come on. And put it with its respective paper towel. And we'll do the same thing here with the marble dyed fabric. Stay away from the water, please. That would be nice. Take the pencil and just bring it down here so you guys can actually see it. And make a tiny little white cross. And one thing I will say is that you can see this, so it has that advantage over a blue pen. You can see your gridding, and it's not going to make holes, which is my concern when I'm doing something that isn't full coverage. And we'll just take a third paper towel, wring it out a bit, and give it a nice little pat down. It does seem to need a little bit of scrubbing, or a little bit of friction, not even scrubbing. It seems like just patting it down doesn't quite work. But it does eventually go away. Look at that. And there we go. The marble dye did lift up a little bit of the dye there. So we'd have to be a little bit careful with that. But when we pat that down, it doesn't seem to bring up any more, at least. So the amount of water that it does take to lift up the pencil can still potentially make your fabric run if it is full cut or hand dyed. And now for the ultimate test, the red, which, as we all know, is a little bit awful when it comes to bleed. So for the first part of the test, it does show up. You have to press a little bit harder than you probably want to, but it does show up. You can see right there, tiny little white cross. And then we'll take our fourth paper towel that hasn't been used, and here we go. We'll just tippy tap. Tippy tap, a little bit of friction, and it seems to be the friction that pulls the dye up, so if you just, perhaps if you're very, very patient, you can get some up without having to do the scrubbing. Looks like you have to be incredibly patient, and now it's still lifting up the red, but that doesn't surprise me because it is red. And then if we pat that down dry, it shouldn't be, yeah, it doesn't lift up anymore once you quit actually trying to do that. So for the last little part of this test, we are going to take some white floss, and just over here where there isn't any water already, I'm just going to put some floss on the fabric, not even really doing any kind of stitch in particular. I just want to get a decent amount of white on here so we can see how likely the fabric is to bleed onto the floss. There we go. And then we'll go in between and just really get some good solid coverage here. There we go. There's some white floss on there to test to see how this will work. And then a little bit of the white, which we probably should have done ahead of time, but you know, whatever. There's the white grid right there, is what we shall say. And we'll take a different part of our paper towel get it a little bit wet. Wring out as much of the water as we can, and we're just going to kind of tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, there we go. And then we'll pat that down. And it does seem like the amount of water that you do need to get the pencil up is not actually enough to loosen up the dye too much, because we do still have some perfectly white floss there. And we'll just keep patting that dry. So there we go. Not even the red appears to have bled onto the floss, which if the red doesn't, the other colors probably won't, because the red, as you can see from the paper towel, does really like to bleed an awful lot. And where's the section that we were just doing? Didn't even really lift much up from that one, just used a very small amount of water, so there we go. That is, I think, pretty decent. If you're doing full coverage, you might not even have to lift up the pencil really all that much, because it would be behind that, because it is pretty faint. But there we go. That is the water erasable pencil. I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot with the Death Star. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully things go better than they did last time, because wow, was that a disaster. So I will be gritting that up this week, giving it another go. I will put this in the Amazon store for you guys who want to try this out, and you'll be able to find it very easily. It will be right there on the top, and that is the Dritz water-soluble marking pencil, which is a big mouthful to say, but so far I think this will work for what I need it to work. Hopefully you guys will find some use in this as well. But that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys later. Bye!